Hi there everyone, Jack here again at the Vinyl Voyage. So before I get into today's video, I'd like to say a big thank you to all those that have watched, liked and subscribed and entered videos into my Weekender contest. There's still another 3 weeks to go in the contest, so if you've not put in an entry yet, please do. I'd love you to stick in an entry and I'll do the draw towards the end of June. Alrighty then, so today we're going to be looking at the Odds and Sods album, the type of compilation that pulls together all the rarities from a band's recording career. So that's the standalone A-sides, the B-sides, the demos, the outtakes, the alternative versions, those little curios that don't have a home on a studio album, and they all get compiled together on these Odds and Sods albums. And I got the idea for doing this video when I was commenting on one of MGK Boston's videos the other day, and he'd asked the question, who was your favourite drummer? And I said that my favourite drummer was Keith Moon. My favourite Keith Moon moment was a little drum fill that he puts in the song Little Billy, which appeared on The Who's Odds and Sods from '74. Cracking little drum fill towards the end of the song. Now, that song was written, if you don't know the song, it was written for the American Cancer Society. It was an anti-smoking song that never ever got released, and it kind of disappeared into the ether until the rest of the Who, so Townsend, Daltrey and Moon were heavily involved in the movie Tommy, and Entwistle was given the task of compiling this Odds and Sods album, and he was asked to compile it to try and beat the bootleggers. A lot of the Who's material was being bootlegged, so he went into the studio vaults and started pulling all these things from various parts of the Who's career with the idea of making this compilation album. So he goes all the way back to the early parts of the Who's career with the high numbers, when the Who were known as the High Numbers. You've got that song I'm a Face on there. You've got, I think it's 3 songs from the Aborted Lifehouse sessions. The song Pure and Simple, or is it, no, sorry, Pure and Easy. You've got Entwistle puts one of his own tracks right at the start. Postcard. You've got the fantastic Now I'm a Farmer. There's a lot of really good songs on there. Glow Girl was another unreleased song, which is really, really great. Long Live Rock. But it's a great album, and it was one of the first kind of rock albums that pulled together all these disparate elements and little curios into one compilation album. And obviously since then, loads of bands have done it, and more to the point, lots of labels have done it to try and maximise, the kind of selling potential for some of their bigger acts, when they can start mining, especially if the band breaks up, they can start mining their back catalogue for anything that didn't get released. And some of the things that I show you, you'll show where that's been kind of done. Now, I think these are brilliant, these type of albums, and I think they really, really suit the CD format, because obviously you can put more songs on a CD. CDs can be packaged with informative little booklets that go into the recording process or the background behind a lot of these Odds and Sods songs, which I really find interesting. And like I said before, it was a way for bands to beat the bootleggers. That, if they're done well, I think these albums, they can really give you a fuller insight into a band's career, especially when you've kind of went through the studio discography. And then sometimes when the songs maybe show you the creative process that a band went through to get to the finished version of a song, if it's early demos or alternative versions, that can be really interesting as well. Sometimes bands kick the arse out of it a bit and you get like half-formed things put out, which I don't really like, but if it's done properly, an Odds and Sods album, I think, can be absolutely fantastic. So today, I'm going to show you 10 of my favourites. So here we go. So first up then, we have got a collection of B-sides from Oasis. This is the Master Plan from, I think they put this out in '98 on Creation Records. It was actually the last record that they would ever put out on Creation. I love that cover. It's really cool with the kind of old-fashioned school classroom with a young lad at the front teaching the old boomers in the classroom. One of them's got a little copy of Sounds there. But yeah, it's really good. It's packed full of great songs. It's basically all the B-sides to their early singles. Yeah, initially put out in Creation, this is like a reissue on Big Brother. Yeah, some of the songs on here, Acquiesce is brilliant. My favourite ones really are the more acoustic numbers. So I think Talk Tonight's absolutely fantastic song. I love Going Nowhere as well. And a lot of these early B-sides, they kind of carry on this theme that Oasis had in the early days of what it means to come from nothing or working class roots and find a way out, find a way to be successful and earn a load of money or be a rock and roll star or whatever. But yeah, there's a good version of I Am the Walrus on here, a live version, which is really cool. But Half a World Away, fantastic song as well that was used to good effect in the UK TV sitcom The Royal Family. But yeah, I really like these acoustic numbers. And then the final, there's just the inner there, kind of carries on that school theme. And then you can see each of these little entries for each song tells you, the A side. So, for instance, Talk Tonight was the B side to Some Might Say. It's got the lyrics on here, and they were all produced by Owen Morris, along with Noel Gallagher. But yeah, another one that's really good as well is the closing track. I think Noel Gallagher said a number of times that the closing track, Master Plan, the title track, was like one of the best songs that he'd ever written. And I would definitely agree with that. A lot of these songs were really too good to be B-sides, and Noel Gallagher's come out since and said that he'd wished he'd held a lot of these songs back for the third album, because for me, everything was downhill after this came out. If this had been the third album, it would have been another great album, but I think it was always diminishing returns after this. So sticking to Manchester and but moving to CD, we have got the blueprint for Oasis, the Stone Roses, with the complete Stone Roses. This is on Silvertone, and I think this was released in '95. And to be honest, this was a way for Silvertone to squeeze the last bit of juice out of the Stone Roses after they'd left Silvertone Records. And yeah, they pretty much raided the vaults and got as much out of them as they can. But this is a brilliant collection. It's a collection of early singles, alternative takes, demos, and singles as well. But yeah, really, really good. So you've got So Young, Tell Me, Sally Cinnamon, Here It Comes, and All Across the Sands. They were all early singles, especially So Young and Tell Me have a very different sound. They are very a little bit more punky, and they kind of show off the Stone Roses, maybe more kind of almost gothic roots before they kind of adopted with Sally Cinnamon that kind of Birdsey jangle pop sound that they were more noted for. But then you go into some of the backwards tracks. You've got Full Fathom 5, which my band took their name from. Obviously, Elephant Stone was a fantastic single, Hardest Thing in the World, Made of Stone. So that's one of the demos, early demo of Made of Stone, early demos of She Bangs the Drums and I Am the Resurrection. So that's like a 3-minute 41-second version of I Am the Resurrection. Obviously much shorter than the album version. But like the Master Plan from Oasis, the B-sides on here are as good as most bands' A-sides. If you look at Where Angels Play, What the World's Waiting For, which was a double A-side, I think with Fool's Gold, things like Mersey Paradise, Standing There, they are absolutely fantastic B-sides that never appeared on any proper album, and they could have been easily held back. They're far, far better for me than anything on The Second Coming, which I thought was a good album as well. But if you're going to go for B-sides for the Stone Roses, you've really got the choice of this, the complete Stone Roses, or you've got Turns to Stone, which is really good as well. The kind of difference between them is Turns to Stone has the single versions of Fool's Gold. So this is a 4-minute version of Fool's Gold, whereas you get the extended version on Turns to Stone, and the same with One Love. Yeah, the same with One Love as well. You get the extended version, whereas this it's a shortened version. What you get on here, which you don't get on Turns to Stone, is those early singles. So Young and Tell Me before they kind of broke through, and Sally Cinnamon, Here It Comes, and All Across the Sands, which were all on the Sally Cinnamon 12-inch. So you could really go for both of them, but I think this covers more bases because you get the nice demos as well that show the kind of evolution of songs like Made of Stone. Next then we have The Small Faces with Autumn Stone. This was an immediate release from 1969, and it's a compilation of early Decca and immediate singles, some live tracks, and a few outtakes as well. It's really, really good. A perfect example of what made The Small Faces fantastic. That amazing keyboard, driving keyboard in the early songs from Ian McLaughlin. Steve Marriott's absolutely brilliant blue-eyed soul voice. I think that there was no one better. With that, Jimmy Page thought so as well because he was desperate to get Marriott for Led Zeppelin at the beginning of Zeppelin's career. And just the brilliant songwriting as well, pop sensibilities of Steve Marriott and Ronnie Lane. There's so much great stuff on here, you know, those early singles like What You Gonna Do About It, Sha-La-La-La Lee, All or Nothing. You've got a live version of All or Nothing there, a live version of Rolling Over that appeared on Ogden's Not Gone Flake, live versions of Tim Hardin's If I Were a Carpenter. There's also a great version of Red Balloon. I love that song, Tim Hardin's Red Balloon as well, which is great, and another cover with a live version of Every Little Bit Hurts. But yeah, some singles as well, like Itchy Park, Here Come the Nice. There's that song Collybosher, which is like an instrumental. I don't know if it's like a backing track for a song that was never completed. But yeah, it's just absolutely packed full of stuff. Some of the songs on here, Call It Something Nice is just absolute pop perfection. Afterglow as well, another beauty that appeared on Ogden's Not Gone Flake. Yeah, so good. Obviously the title track, Autumn Stone, is that little bit of like kind of folky psychedelia. Just really, really beautiful stuff. But yeah, I love The Small Faces, and yeah, this is just a great collection. It fills in the gaps with the singles and some great outtakes as well. Next then we've got The Doors with Essential Rarities. So this was originally released as part of 1999's Complete Studio Albums box set, and I kind of looked on enviously at this because I really liked this element of the box set, but I had all the other studio albums, so I didn't really fancy shelling out for the box set. And then in 2000 they released this as a standalone CD. But yeah, it's really cool. It's like a kind of mixture of live tracks. So you've got things like Break On Through and Roadhouse Blues. You've got a nice demo version of alternative take of Hyacinth House. You've got songs that appeared on B-sides like Who Scared You. That was originally pegged for Soft Parade and it ended up just as a B-side. You've got Whiskey, Mystics and Men, which is a pretty cool wee sea shanty. That was one of these songs that the rest of the Doors added overdubs to prior to the box set being released. They had like the original kind of a cappella version of it, I think, and then they added music to it. And that was the same also with Orange County Suite, which was a song that was found on these Lost Paris tapes. It was a selection of recordings of poetry and unfinished songs that Morrison had been working on prior to going to Paris, and these tapes had been found in his apartment after he died. And like I said, some of it appeared on American Prayer, and then some of it the Doors took and added music to. But that Orange County Suite's a pretty good song. There's some nice demos on here, early demos from 65 of Moonlight Drive and Hello, I Love You. And it's quite nice to hear how those songs evolved because they were kind of folky, jaunty, piano-based songs with harmonica over the top and not really like the kind of more psychedelic organ-driven songs that we heard on the albums. They had a more folky feel to them, so that's really interesting as well. And then you've got this bonus track, Woman is the Devil, which is quite cool. Someday Soon is really good as well. That was never on any album. So yeah, some nice rarities on here, especially if you're a Doors fan. It's always good because I don't think that they had so much compared to some other of the big bands. They didn't really seem to have a massive treasure trove of outtakes and unreleased songs. So yeah, this is nice to hear. So next then we've got a compilation of B-sides from those weirdos out of Boston, Massachusetts. It is of course the Pixies. This is really cool. What I really like about this one's the liner notes. So Frank Black does the liner notes for all the songs, and like I said, it's just all the B-sides. So it's the B-sides from 6 UK singles and 1 US single, going from Surfer Rosa up to Trompe Le Monde. But yeah, he does really kind of cool little conversational notes on all the songs. I'll read a few of them. So there's a cool cover of the Lady in the Radiator song from Eraserhead, which is good. That's a live version of that. So he says for Manta Ray, did I mention that this was a B-sides compilation, a not-so-classic quickie, and I do accept all the blame, though I do like Joey's solo. Nonsense, Manta Ray is brilliant. I love that song. There's a version of Wave of Mutilation, so an alternative version called the UK Surf version, which is really cool. It appeared in the Christian Slater movie, Pump Up the Volume. That's really great. There's a couple of Neil Young covers on here. Both Kim Deal and Frank Black were big Neil Young fans. What have we got? There's Winter Long and I've Been Waiting for You. Let's see what other ones we've got. Bailey's Walk. So I like this one. Bailey's Walk, one of the many songs that was recorded at a little studio in the basement of a hairdresser's. Early days, this one. I think it sounds great. One of my favourites. It's about a guy I used to see all over San Juan. He could only take a couple of steps before he had to tap himself in the head, do a little spin, and once a photographer tried to take his picture, but Bailey wouldn't let him. Normal people sometimes forget that street people have pride and dignity too. Make Believe, number 10. Dave Lovering sings lead. He kept us very entertained with his obsession with Debbie Gibson, and that's what this song's about. So yeah, it's really cool. I like that, the little bit of insight into each of the songs and what Frank Black thinks about them. But yeah, just the Pixies are always good, and this is early Pixies, so can't go wrong with that. Along with the BBC sessions, which has some cool alternative stuff as well. Can't go wrong. Next, then, we've got the Jam Extras from 1992 on Polydor. It's just an absolutely fantastic collection of early demos, B-sides, cover versions. You've got some curios like Pop Art Poem, which appeared as a flexi disc if you were part of the Jam fan club. Like I said, some great covers. You've got Get Yourself Together from the Small Faces, And Your Bird Can Sing from the Beatles, a couple of Who covers, So Sad About Us in Disguises. You know, as usual, Paul Weller wears his influences firmly on his sleeve. But I love the demos as well. A lot of the demos I like better than the ones that appear on the album. There's a great demo of Burning Sky from Setting Suns. I like this one better. It's more sparse. I think, I don't know, it just talks to the listener more. Great little demo of Thick as Thieves as well. The demo of Saturday's Kids is fantastic. I love that. I think Weller's just like the master, along with Ray Davies, of taking those little slices of British life and, you know, showing them through his songs. The great lyrics in Saturday's Kids. Saturday's Kids live life with insults, drink lots of beer and wait for halftime results. Eating Rifles as well, another one that's just a great little demo. But yeah, fantastic stuff here. So the next one's a bit of a hefty beast. It is, oh, there we go. Bob Dylan's The Bootleg Series, volumes 1 to 3, rare and released tracks from 61 to 91. It's essentially a selection of outtakes, alternative takes from Dylan's first album up to Oh Mercy. It's really, really good. It comes across three CDs, and you get this really substantial booklet along with it. And the booklet kind of goes into detail on the recording process for each song and loads of information about how it was tackled in the studio or the meaning behind the song. Yeah, it's a really, really nice little booklet. But yeah, the music on here is great. It goes from those early demos, you know, like the Whitmark demos that Dylan produced, through to like a load of different outtakes from different sessions. Some of the really nice ones on here I like. The song I'll Keep It With Mine, that was going to be on Bringing It All Back Home. He gave that one to Nico. It's nice to hear Dylan's version of that. And then there's also If You've Got to Go, Go Now, which again was going to be, it was from the same sessions for Bringing It All Back Home, but Manfred Mann did that one, and then I think later, the Fairport Convention, they did it in French. They did a French version of it. But then there's lots of nice little things like to hear the evolution of some of Dylan's biggest songs. So you hear Like a Rolling Stone. Obviously, it's a song that everybody knows and knows well, but you hear the early versions of that were done by Dylan on an upright piano with a kind of waltz timing. So yeah, it's interesting to hear that. Yeah, there's just lots of really, really nice outtakes as well. There's some great alternative versions of some of the songs off of Blood on the Tracks, like Tangled Up in Blue and Idiot Wind. And another one I really like is the version of If Not For You that he did with George Harrison. Obviously, George Harrison put his version on All Things Must Pass. Dylan put his on New Morning. But yeah, the version on here is really nice as well. Yeah, there's loads and loads to get your teeth into. And again, I think if you're a Dylan fan, this is a must. It's really, really good. Next then we have Beeswax. This is some B-sides from 77 to 82 from XTC on Virgin Records. And like it says on the tin, it's a number of B-sides from that period. But you could only originally get this album if you were one of the first 1,000 people to buy this. So this was just the singles, XTC's singles from that same period. So all the songs that you would expect on this. And if you bought this, you got the B-sides record as well. But yeah, really, really good. Lots of just catchy, punky, poppy, new wavy, psychedelic-y little bits of weirdness in there as well. And even a little bit of ska in there, but everything's kind of high energy, everything's catchy, like you would expect from XTC. And I really like the artwork as well. So it's on that Virgin label. Yeah, just a nice, well-packaged collection of B-sides. And I think you can buy this standalone now. Certainly you can on Discogs or eBay or any of these, and it's not overly expensive. So next then, another favourite. This was released in 1985. This is the Velvet Underground and their VU compilation. And it's a collection of previously unreleased recordings. Now the story goes with this one, MGM, after the Velvets had left Verve and they'd put out their third album, they were writing songs for the fourth album. MGM had to trim some acts off the roster and they get rid of the Velvet Underground. So these and a load of other tracks remained canned until the first three albums got re-released in the 80s by Verve, and they looked into the vaults and they found a number of tracks which appeared on here, and they span both the John Cale period. There's two tracks from the John Cale period. I think it is Stephanie Says and Temptation Inside of Your Heart, and the Doug Yule period as well. But yeah, it's really, really good. It's amazing that these could have been in the vaults and no one was actually listening to them for the best part of 15 years, more than 15 years. Yeah, a lot of the songs on here, so you've got songs like I Can't Stand It, Lisa Says, and Ocean, which later appeared on Lou Reed's first album. Then obviously you've got a version of Andy's Chest, which appears on Transformer. It's the one on Transformer's better. It's a lot slicker with obviously David Bowie's production, but it's nice to hear how it started. And then that's a great wee song as well, I'm Sticking With You, sung by Mo Tucker. But you just imagine what that would have been like as a kind of fourth Velvet's album. But I think there was enough songs from the vaults to do two albums. This was released in 85, and then there was a second one put out in 86 called Another View, which has a load of these other songs on it as well. But yeah, they're so good. Foggy Notions, Magic, Temptation Inside of Your Heart, like I said, it's one of those John Cale ones, is great. Stephanie Says is such a beautiful song, another John Cale one, and that appears on Berlin as Caroline Says too. But again, this one's better. In fact, all the songs, I think, bar Andy's Chest, the original Velvet Underground songs are better than the Lou Reed versions that were kind of put out later on. Yeah, love the Velvets, and again, just essential stuff if you're a Velvets fan. So a real favourite then to finish up is the Rolling Stones with Metamorphosis from 1975. So this was put out kind of without the Rolling Stones' blessing. It was put out by the dastardly Alan Klein, who had got ownership of the Stones' early catalogue, and he was kind of squeezing the vaults for everything that he could find. And it's quite telling the period that this covers, or these songs cover, because on this kind of Kafkaesque artwork with the insects and the Rolling Stones, you can see both Brian Jones and Mick Taylor. So the first half of the CD kind of covers those earlier years. And the Stones don't play in all these tracks. These earlier songs were almost like calling cards for other artists to record the Stones songs. Jagger and Richards were still kind of finding their groove, I suppose. And these are all like kind of 60s pop ballads. They're very catchy and all the rest of it. There is, I suppose, a couple of more well-known songs. There's an alternative version of Out of Time. There's an alternative version of Heart of Stone. You've got Don't Lie to Me, which was a kind of blues standard. Fats Domino did it and Chuck Berry did it. But then there's a lot of different players on here as well, because the Stones don't play in all the tracks. So you've got people like Jimmy Page. I think he plays in Something Just Sticks in Your Mind. You've got John Paul Jones, Jack Nietzsche. I think Jim Capaldi and Steve Winwood playing some of the tracks. But I think personally, I like the second half better, which is kind of more around the time of From Between the Buttons and then up to Let It Bleed, Beggar's Banquet and Sticky Fingers. So you've got songs like, let me see, I Don't Know Why was a Stevie Wonder song. In the earliest versions of this album, when it was put out, Alan Klein put it down as a Jagger Richards song, even though Stevie Wonder wrote it. But that's like really, really soulful, kind of a really soulful, rockier number. In fact, when the Stones recorded I Don't Know Why, I think it was the 3rd of January, 69, and as they were putting the finishing touches to that song, they got the news that Brian Jones had drowned in his swimming pool. You've also got If You Let Me, it's a fantastic song. Jiving Sister Fanny's really good. Downtown Susie, that was one of Bill Wyman's numbers, and it's a bit strange because the song talks all the time about this lady called Lucy, but yet the title is Downtown Susie. I really like Family. It's got like this kind of really cool reverby acoustic sound to it, and that was round about the Beggar's Banquet sessions, and it kind of recounts the story of these 4 people in a family: the dad who dies this tragic accident, the daughter who wants to become a prostitute and have her dad as a customer, the mum who's got this big string of lovers, and the son who kind of dreams of following the footsteps of his guitar playing idol. But I think the kind of incest surrounding the song Family probably kept it off A Beggar's Banquet. And then you've got Memo from Turner, one of my favourite Stones songs, but that version's not as good. It's got Al Cooper playing guitar on it, this one, rather than the Memo from Turner that appears in the Performance movie, which is that lovely slide guitar from Ry Cooder. This is a little bit jerkier. Still sounds great, but it's not quite as good as the one that's in Performance. But yeah, this is really good stuff. Some kind of liner notes, a poem from Andrew Lou Goldman, the Stones' old manager, a cool wee CD. But yeah, that's it. That's my final one. So there we have it, a fantastic collection of B-sides, alternative takes, outtakes, demos, works in progress. Absolutely love that kind of thing, and I hope you do too. If you did, please give us a like. More importantly, please comment if you've got any recommendations or suggestions for similar type albums. Love to check them out. I always love to follow these things up, especially if it's a band that I'm really, really into. If I've exhausted the studio discography, I love delving deeper into that rabbit hole to hear what else is out there. And if you want, please subscribe. And until the next time then, see you later. Bye for now.